Hello everyone, welcome to soundproofguide.com. In this video, I'll be talking about different ways on how to soundproof a backyard. But since it's kind of hard to basically soundproof anything, soundproofing a backyard isn't really the right terms. It's basically to make your backyard quieter, more livable. Because let's face it, if you live close to a busy street, you'll have a lot of traffic noise. That's probably one of the noises that's the most easiest ones to kind of mitigate. If you're talking about noises coming from above, well, that's a lot more difficult unless you build a roof, where what's the point of being in the backyard if you're under a roof? So if you live near a airport, airplane flight path, then it might be a little bit more difficult. And you're also dealing with other different types of noises like kids playing, animals, barking dogs. So those are a little bit trickier to get rid of. But there are ways, and that's what we'll talk about. So of course, the first way to get rid of a lot of the noise coming from, let's say, traffic is to build a fence. And if you're going to build a fence, probably a wood fence is the way to go. Usually you wouldn't think of wood as a good sound absorber or a good sound blocker, but for an outside scenario, a wooden fence will work a lot better than, let's say, a wire fence or a metal fence. A metal fence, it's going to absorb noise even less, and it's just going to make the sound waves bounce a lot more than wood. But let's say you have a wooden fence. Now, constructing a wooden fence, there are things that you can do to make it better for sound control. Now, at least have it 6.5 feet, 7 feet tall at least, because then if you're sitting down or if you're standing up, a lot of the noise will still be blocked. If the fence is only about 6 feet high, then the noise will be coming through a lot easier if you're, of course, standing up. If you're sitting down, it's not so bad. But really, to get the most effective fence for sound control, the taller the fence, the better. So try to have it at least 6.5, 7 feet tall, even 8 feet tall if you can. You can go ahead and buy a pre-made wood fence. You can just buy the sections. The thing is, most of the places that sells those fences, they have it about 6 feet tall. So that wouldn't be what I would recommend. You might as well go ahead and build a taller fence if at all possible, if they don't offer those types of pre-made sections. Now these fences, if you have the wooden planks, you have to have them tight to really seal that gap. And to go a step further, you should be putting something like a caulking, an outdoor caulking, to basically seal that gap. You can buy some that are the color of wood, or you can just buy the white one if you will be going ahead and painting the fence anyway. That will ensure that at least that gap can be sealed if you want it for soundproofing.
Just a quick pause. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing to our channel. And also feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear your feedback and also your questions that I would do my very best to answer. Thank you.
So the next thing that you can do to block a lot of the noise is to incorporate mass-loaded vinyl into your wooden fence. Now, if you don't know what mass-loaded vinyl is, video right up here will explain everything there is to know about this product. Now, the easiest way to install this type of product onto the fence is just to unroll it and place it on the fence with nails. The thing is, it won't look very good, so if you don't care about that, then that's fine. What you could do is just use plywood and put that over the mass-loaded vinyl, or even more planks, and just build a double fence with the mass-loaded vinyl sandwiched in between. It will make your fence look a lot better. It will make your fence a lot more soundproof. But it's a lot more work, and it'll be a lot more expensive, of course. But if it's only one part of the fence, then it might not be such a bad idea. Mass-loaded vinyl on your fence doesn't look good, but it works. One thing though, if you do leave the mass-loaded vinyl exposed, it is a really good sound absorber, so at least it will help absorb a lot of the sound that is coming from either side of the fence. I'll have links in the description below of all of the products that I talk about in this video to make it a lot more easier to access. Now, if you already have a fence and it's just a wired fence where you're basically just have it up because you have a animal or you have a pool. Well, if you want to keep that fence, then you can buy a type of mesh to put all over your fence. The thing is these meshes are usually made more for privacy than for sound control. But you can go ahead and buy a more expensive and thicker type of mesh that will help, well, it will help stop a little bit of the sound if that's all you have to work with. So at least these types of mesh is good for privacy, but it can and will reduce a little bit of the noise because you are creating a barrier between you and the road. So it will work a little bit. It just won't work as well, of course, as a wooden fence or, let's say, a brick fence. Now, a brick fence is actually a pretty good way to stop a lot of the noise. If you have a brick wall between yourself and the road, that will stop a lot of the noise. And at least with a brick fence, you can build it a little bit higher than what you might be able to with wood. Now you'll have to check with city bylaws and town bylaws. There are places in the world that just don't allow for this type of fences because it, well, if it's not built correctly, it can be quite hideous. But it is something to consider. If you have a bigger budget, then building a brick wall will, as I said, help reduce a lot of the noise coming from the road. Now, another thing that you can do to reduce a lot of the noise if a fence is not really an option for you, or if you already have a fence and you just, well, want something more, is to have a lot of plants, a lot of greenery, a lot of shrubs. Now, if you have a lot of shrubs between you and whatever's causing the noise, the more shrubs, the more plants where you're sitting, then it will help block some of the noise. It will also help absorb a little bit of the noise depending on what type of plants it is, but any type of plants will absorb a little bit of noise just because that's how sound waves works. It won't bounce everywhere. So at least if you do have noise coming from your backyard, then having some greenery around you will help to make your backyard a little quieter. Now, another thing that you can do if you are in the backyard and there is a constant noise, let's say it's traffic, and you've built your fence, you have greenery, but you still hear it. You'll still hear it. It's just how bad is it going to be that it makes it quite annoying for you. One thing that you can do is to try to block that noise with white noise. Now, of course, you could put some speakers in your backyard and just have white noise, or if you want music, that's fine. But one thing that a lot of people do that some people don't even think about is to just have a fountain. Having a fountain in the backyard will produce some noise. It will be a constant water noise, and it will help drown out the noise that's coming from outside of your backyard. So at least it's going to appear to be more peaceful by creating that white noise, because that's what's going to be resonating the most around you. So that's another thing that you can do to make the backyard a lot more peaceful. If you want a type of fence, but you don't really want the look of a wooden fence or a brick wall, or if you just have right now a wired fence, you can create a living fence. You can put a lot of shrubs or just plants onto the fence, intertwining itself and creating a living fence. It will help stop a little bit of the noise if you do have a wired fence, of course. And if you have a wooden fence, well, it will block a little bit of the noise. Not a lot, but at least it'll just make the backyard look a lot better. If you have a nice shrub, a nice living fence in front of your current fence or incorporated within the fence. And it will help eliminate a little bit of the noise, and it will just make the backyard look a lot better. Hopefully you found these tips helpful. If you did and you've incorporated some into your backyard, leave a comment below. I'd like to know about it. Also, by leaving a comment and leaving a like, it helps the algorithm tell YouTube that maybe my channel is worth promoting. So that's really the big part of leaving comments and thumbs up for all content creators. So thank you. Feel free to take a look at many of our other YouTube videos and also some of our articles on our website, soundproofguide.com. Don't forget to click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and also consider subscribing to our channel if you like our content.